Yes, these two are Omegas, and yes, they're both Speedmasters. But in all my years of being in this very healthy and not at all addicting watch hobby, I've never seen two Speedmasters from Omega receive anywhere close to the level of attention and acclaim as these two have accumulated. One of these is the Moonwatch Professional, now in white, and the other is mind-blowingly special. In my opinion, these two could be the most important watches from Omega in the last 5 years. Here's why. Check out Swiss Connection watches for your next watch. Also, do consider subscribing as it really helps. Thank you. When you think of the Speedmaster, you instantly think of the moon landing and NASA. While that is the brand's greatest achievement and what cemented it as one of the most important watches of the 20th century, it wasn't even originally designed for space exploration. The Speedmaster was launched in 1957 as a racing chronograph. It was meant to compete with similar watches from Heuer and Rolex, a chronograph for your inner speed demon. That changed in '64 when it was selected to participate in the NASA trials alongside other notable brands like Longines, Rolex, and Breitling. After weeks of grueling NASA testing, the Speedmaster emerged victorious and was selected as the watch of choice for the astronauts. There are many stories related to NASA-related space exploration and Omega, but none is as well known on a global scale as the Apollo 11 moon landing mission of 1969, when the Speedmaster Professional was worn by astronaut Buzz Aldrin. The Speedmaster Professional White arrived at the perfect time in my opinion. The Moonwatch's legacy is so historically significant that Omega had a challenge on their hands. How do we revamp an icon that most agree is perfect? A funky dial color change is good for short-term, limited-run, hype-type situations, but it can never replace the status of the original product. The White Speedy Professional retained the purity of the original Moonwatch, but without affecting the integrity of the original. This was a win-win for both existing and new collectors of the Speedmaster. For a new buyer, you now had a choice between the iconic black or a new white Speedmaster. The white dial almost has a porcelain finish. You have black indications and applied markers and a splash of red on the tip of the chronograph hand and the word Speedmaster for playful contrast. I love that this white version doesn't overlap with the black one. I can see myself owning both without them feeling redundant. And I'm a guy who strictly tries to follow a one watch per brand strategy, which never works. The Speedmaster Professional comes in a 42mm stainless steel case with a lug-to-lug of 47.5mm, a lug width of 20, and a thickness of 13.2mm. And although 50 meters of water resistance is something I would normally complain about for an everyday style watch, it's Omega, so 50 meters isn't simply splash proof in this case, but hard 50 meters, making it good enough as a one and done daily watch. The case is quintessentially modern, with lyre lugs, a fixed tachymeter bezel with an aluminum insert, and a box sapphire crystal. Also, props to Omega for giving the Speedmaster one hell of a bracelet, with polished mid-links paired with a micro-adjustment clasp. It's comfy, easy to size, on the go, and articulates beautifully. Powering the watch is the manual wind in-house caliber 3861 with the coaxial escapement, a beat frequency of 21,600 vibrations per hour, and 50 hours of power reserve when fully wound. This caliber is an evolution of the caliber 1861. Some of the biggest improvements include META certification, meaning that apart from advances in accuracy, this Speedmaster no longer needs to employ the use of a soft iron inner case for the above standard magnetic resistance of 15,000 Gauss. The Ed White, on the other hand, is a masterclass in luxury watchmaking. While it may seem like a regular Speedmaster to normal people without the unhealthy obsessions, this watch has more than meets the eye. The moniker Ed White was bestowed upon the Speedmaster as it is a recreation of the two watches that Ed White wore for his spacewalk during the 1965 Gemini 4 mission, becoming the first American to walk in space. This was also the very first time when an Omega Speedmaster went into space, and his particular version had the Lamania base caliber 321. So naturally, this movement became the stuff of legends, being the original caliber that passed the rigorous NASA trials in order for the Speedmaster to make its way to the moon. So Omega decided to recreate this caliber as close to the original as possible by using a tomography to scan a vintage 321 caliber, But of course, they didn't just stop there. To ensure its exclusivity, every 3-to-1 caliber is assembled twice by one watchmaker from A to Z and only serviceable by those very same watchmakers. I mean, this is Langa style watchmaking. And also it means that in an industry that is already lacking watchmakers, there are just a handful of master watchmakers trusted to finish and assemble the caliber 3-to-1 by hand. As a result, it's not only significantly more expensive than the standard Speedmaster Professional, but also as rare as seeing Nico sleeping whilst hugging a Big Bang shape pillow. Omega also decided to return to the original dimensions to truly honor the caliber 3-to-1. You have a 39.7mm steel case with a thickness of 13.7mm, a lug-to-lug of 48, and a lug width of 19mm. The crown and pushers are now exposed, and you get straight lugs instead of the slightly curved ones seen in the Speedy Professionals. The step dial is now galvanized, which allows for a more neo-vintage look, and allows the circular graining on the subdials to appear more prominent by comparison. You also have an applied vintage logo, along with vintage font for the word Speedmaster on the dial, and warm patina on the indexes that make the watch feel like an old new stock that's been unboxed after decades. The bracelet has a simple 3-link construction with brushed center links and polished outer links. But overall, the bracelet is extremely comfortable. It's articulate, robust, and just well made. Omega also made some improvements to the movement. Most notably, the bridges are now plated with Sedna gold for a warmer tone, and the power reserve has been bumped up to 55 hours with still the traditional beat rate of 2.5 Hz. No meta certification or coaxial escapement here, but this isn't exactly trying to compete with those features, but is more focused on the heritage side of things. Omega is known for using modern tech in not just their watchmaking, but also in their involvement of producing tech for keeping time during the Olympics. But this watch is a different kind of flex, dipping their toes in hot horology with the most traditional ways of watchmaking. So how to choose between these two? If you always wanted the modern Speedmaster but black just isn't for you, the White Speedy is a great alternative. Possibly the only alternative that can come close to the perfection of the black dial version. But if you wanted a slice of history and felt that the modern Speedy is too far removed from its historical roots, the Ed White is the Speedmaster for you. Omega worked their magic with the Ed White, doing whatever they had to recreate it to perfection. And the result is one of, if not the most, brilliant Speedmasters ever created. Whether you're choosing the White Speedy or the Ed White, you're getting one hell of a watch, with the storied history and the technical might of Omega. What do you think of these two watches, and which one would you go for? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.